Hey, how's it going, guys? We're Inside the Market RE podcast. We are going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about the state of the economy right now, what cycles happened in the past with experienced realtors that have been in this industry, brokers, lenders that have been in this industry for over decades that can share knowledge to all of us that want to learn what to do to be in the business or to purchase. My guest today, which has been in this industry for 30 years with all this knowledge, and she's lived through so many cycles, the crashes, and I am going to get deep and ask her so many questions about her experiences, her success, and her downfalls, and her knowledge so we can all level up. Maite Loro. So tell me how you first got started in this industry.
So I got started back in 1993 in the real estate industry. I was fascinated by it. I was married to somebody who was an investor. So I started, you know, looking at what he was doing. I happened to like it and I said, real estate. That's right up my alley.
And that's where it took off.
That's where it took off. I'm a real estate broker. I started in 1993, like I said, and I've been in the industry, in and out of the industry since. The market has shifted drastically
When you started?
from when I started. We saw the downfall in the real estate market back in 2008. So that made a major significant change in everything. But like everything, we bounce back. Miami's a different animal. Miami bounces back, from whatever adversities you may throw its way. And people still flocking to Miami from all kinds of places. So, it bounces back, believe it or not.
What significant experiences have you encountered in your 30 years in the industry? You had a brokerage company or?
So I became a real estate broker after some time, after I had been in the business for a while, and I had my own shop, my own real estate company. Listen, it's having your own shop is not it's not as easy as people think it is. It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication.
Like, what does it take?
Well, it takes a lot of money. Well, you have to have a pretty good business plan.
Mm.
That's really what you really need to do. And marketing is huge. Marketing and the type of people that you want to work with, the type of realtors that you want to bring into your business, that's a lot of work. So a lot of people want to get into it and everybody gets excited, but the knowledge and the experience that you gain through the years, it's great. And if you love the business, you'll gain a lot of it. You have to study all the time. You have to stay on top of the trends. You have to stay on top of the market, how things shift, how they shift upwards or downwards. So all of that has a lot to do with how successful you may or may not become
Okay.
with your own shop.
Right, right. Which sounds challenging, but it could be
It
done.
it could totally be done. It is challenging. You have to have build the right team with the right people, um, the right marketing, the right vision for the future, and you have to roll with the punches because the market it's ever changing. It
Right.
goes up and it goes down, and it goes up
And
and
I'm
it goes
and
down.
I was actually going to tap into that right now. So right now what we're experiencing is uncertainty.
Yes.
The economy is, no one knows, investors don't know, um, the market doesn't know. There's a lot of things at play, and we know now that a lot of investors in the market are piling up into bonds,
Right.
which bonds, once they start piling up into bonds, it brings up the bond prices, which brings the treasury yields down, which helps investors
Sure.
and people trying to purchase. So this cycle that we're going through right now, explain to us those cycles that happened in the past, so perhaps anybody that's listening can prepare for what's about to come, if there's an opportunity or if they should just sit on cash. But tell us your experience of the 2008, the 19, I believe in the 1999, those cycles that happen where there's opportunity or you just sit on cash and wait for the right time to invest.
So cycles in the real estate market happen every 8 to 10 years. Okay. So you will see the trend peak and then valley, and peak and then valley. Um, we were supposed to have sort of like a downward valley back in maybe 2018, 2019, and it didn't happen. The economy was steady, and it moved very seamlessly, let's say. But then we got COVID, and COVID threw everything for a spin
Okay.
because we didn't know the uncertainty there was humongous. And then the economy had to do something to keep it moving. So how did they do that? They dropped the interest rates to the lowest anybody has ever seen in history. Or, and if it happened before, I wasn't around. But I don't remember in all the years that I've been in the real estate business, where the market hit like 2% interest rates, fixed for 30 years, anything like that. I had never seen it before. So, because we were on a lockdown and the economy needed to continue to move, those rates just expedited it. So, people were, yeah, you may have been sitting at home and you couldn't go to work, but people were buying properties. The mortgage companies, the banks were going crazy with an influx of loans coming through, and sales were doing amazing on the real estate market. That put a spin into that peaks and valley type of situation that normally you would see on the real estate market, because everything went crazy. A lot of influx from other places. The people were coming in. So there was a shortage of inventory. So now prices were skyrocketing, especially with those interest rates. People were buying like crazy because you can totally afford, if even if the property went up $100,000 at a 2 or 3 or 4% interest rate, you can still afford it because it just allows for that. And after that, we have only seen a trend going up, especially here in Miami. In Miami, properties are not slowing down. I mean, I'm now in the mortgage business. I have been for the past, I've been back to the mortgage business for the past few years. And the rates obviously went back to what is normal, which people think and complain all the time. Oh my God, 6%. Oh my God, 7%. People, that's normal.
Right.
What was not normal was that 2 and 3 and 4% interest rate. That was not normal. Are we going to see that again? I don't know. If they do drop drastically, they might drop maybe to the high fives or the low six, and that would still be normal. What is happening with the housing market? The prices are still going up. The inventory is really not there. I mean, people are still influxing into Miami. Apple's coming in here. Apple, it has just rented over 40,000 square feet of office space downtown Coral Gables,
Which is great.
which is amazing. And we already know what that's going to do to the housing market in Coral Gables.
Yeah.
There's another big bank coming down to Brickell, Citadel. They bought an immense amount of property here, quite a bit of millions of dollars worth, and they're bringing their people down here as well. So that is bringing in more people. So what's going to happen to the housing market? It's going to skyrocket in these particular areas. So when people talk about, oh, the market is going to, the people are saying houses are going to drop in pricing. I haven't seen it. I don't foresee it.
Well, let me ask you a question. And then, since we do see now that the interest rates, which is the treasuries, are starting to come down, and slowly but surely, I think that's the president's focus, is more not about the stock market, but more about affordability. When you lived in '08,
Right.
how did you pivot compared to what you would do now if interest rates start to come down? What would you see an opportunity for those out there that want to invest, want to buy their first home, the opportunity.
Okay, so let's go back to 2008. 2008, you had a housing market that crashed. So why did it crash? Because the banking industry was giving out loans like if they were candy. So as long as you had a pulse and you could sign your name on the dotted line,
Right, right.
you were probably getting a loan. Okay. So that brought about the catastrophe that we had. People who couldn't afford, these properties, who probably got into a 1 year or 3 year or 5 year fixed loan. And because the rates were so low, um, they would start to see those rates go up, the payments double or triple, and you had a foreclosure uh, flooding
Right.
of the market. These properties were just, I mean, everybody was being foreclosed on. And people, what a lot of people did was they bought not just their home, but they bought two and three homes because the prices were great, the interests were super low, but they just didn't foresee the future of when those things were to turn and have those payments double or triple. So we had a foreclosure nightmare in our hands. Is that going to happen again? I don't think so. I don't
Right.
think so. I think things have changed drastically since then. And what happened at that time? Cash was king because the short sales came into play. So the banks had to unload all these properties. And if you bought a house for, let's say, $500,000, now it's probably worth maybe one third of that. So whoever had cash at that time, these investors were out there foaming at the mouth, looking to see what kind of deals they can get. And they did. Whoever had cash at the time, um, purchased properties that somebody bought at 500,000 for maybe 200,000, or maybe even less than that, depending on the area, because real estate is location, location, location.
Right.
So that was that. How is that playing into today's market? Well, the market has been pretty stable, after COVID and after all those rates, leveled off, things have been pretty steady, but prices continue to go up. So in Miami in particular, a lot of people can't buy a house on their own because the housing market is so expensive that the income, your average income for a household, sometimes two people cannot afford whatever's happening on the market right now, and they have to bring in a third person or even a fourth person. We see that every day in our business. So sometimes you get a loan application with three, four people on the application because of the expensive housing market that we are currently living in. Is that going to drop? No, not anytime soon.
Any opportunities that you can share that you can possibly um see in the future, or
It's uncertain right now.
it's uncertain?
It's uncertain right now because we still have a major issue with inflation.
Right.
Okay. So that in itself is a problem. They can't scale it back too quickly because this needs to play itself out until it levels out again. Um, the house is going up a lot? No, not really. Those big trends of seeing a house go up 40, $50,000 in a very short period of time. I think that has scaled back quite a bit. However, um, people are still buying. Has it been slower? Yes. Yes. Yes, because of what I just said previously. Not everybody in Miami can afford, you know, a 3 bedroom, two bath for $700,000.
Right.
And the average in Miami is between $500,000 and $600,000 for a 3-2. But what does that payment look like for a family of two? You're looking at probably $4,000 or $5,000 a month payment. Are the salaries there to make that payment every month and still have a life aside from your mortgage? Not everybody can afford that.
I see possibly a good opportunity to sit on cash. Cash is going to be king.
Always.
So, and I'm kind of
Cash,
seeing that
cash
it's
is always
beginning,
king.
which it wasn't in the past. A lot of people were saying cash was trash at one point,
Well, I
but
disagree.
cash is. I think cash is going to be king again for what's about to happen with opportunities possibly in the near future.
Well, um, there's talk of another foreclosure wave.
Right,
If that happens and you're sitting on cash,
right.
you might have the opportunity to pick up some of these properties that may not be, in good standings anymore. So we will see what happens with the market and the interest rates. For now, I don't see the that moving or shifting drastically downward anytime soon.
All right. So, what advice would you give um, the listeners out there that are interested in seeing what to do next, like, or how to approach it if they want to be a realtor, they want to be an investor, they want to purchase, just it abroad. What advice would you give out there, those that are listening right
Okay,
now?
so here's what I always say: if you're ready to buy, go ahead and buy. You can always refinance later. But here's what happens: a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to wait for the house for the interest rates to drop." Right? When the interest rates drop, the houses go up. So if you are ready to buy today and you can afford this property today, then I would recommend you buy, because when the interest rates drop and the housing market goes up, then you're buying at a higher price. If you purchased already and now the interest rates drop to, like, let's say you bought for 7.25 and now the interest rates were at 5.5, you can always refinance that property, but you are refinancing at yesterday's prices, not at today's market value. So now you got some equity on that property. So if you're ready to buy today, just buy it. And then later on, there's always a refi.
You heard it. You heard it. You heard it. You heard it. You're in Inside the Market RE with Maite Loro, and we're so happy to have you here
Thank you.
and to be one of the many powerful women that have been in this industry. And we look
For a long time.
much success to you in your future.
Thank you.